Hello and welcome to our video on factorising quadratics by completing the square. Now first of all, I've got a quick review of the previous work we've done on factorising. So you'll remember there are three types of questions you'll be asked in this unit of work. The first one asks you to expand a quadratic. That means expand the brackets so there's no brackets anymore, it's fully expanded. The second type of question will ask you to factorise, which is the opposite. It asks you to take a fully expanded expression and put it back into brackets. And the third type of question is asking you to solve, which is asking you to find what x equals or y equals or whatever the variable is in the question using the null factor law. The factorising methods, so this is oh, that's a very thick highlighter. Now I've drawn it in the wrong spot. Factorising, further information on factorising. Is down here. So I've just expanded this section out a little bit. We've already looked at these four methods for factorising. The first one is to take out a highest common factor. And remember, it's worthwhile doing these in order because you don't want to go straight to the hardest ones if you don't need to. So these are in order of difficulty. First one to try is take out a highest common factor, or HCF. The second one to try is grouping. You need 4 terms for that. Most quadratics only have 3, but if you have 4 terms, you might be able to use grouping. The third method is using difference of perfect squares, or DOPS, which is x squared minus a squared equals x minus a x plus a. So just using that formula. And the fourth method is using basic factorising, which is where we find two numbers that multiply to make the final number and add to make the middle number. Sometimes we can't use basic factorising because the numbers don't work. So we can't actually find two numbers that multiply to make the final number and add to make the middle number. An example of this would be y equals x squared minus 8x minus 3. So two numbers that multiply to make minus 3 would have to be 3 and 1. And 3 plus 1 doesn't make negative 8. 3 minus 1. However hard you try, you can't make 3 and 1 make negative 8. So if you try basic factorising and you can't do it, you need to try the next method, which is called completing the square. If there is no coefficient of x squared, then we can use the fifth method, which is called completing the square. Your steps to use for completing the square are written below. I'll read through them first and then I will show you an example going through each step one at a time. The first step is to find the magic number by halving and squaring the coefficient of x. Second step is to add first, always add first, then subtract the magic number after the x term. Third step, factorise the first half of the equation. Fourth step, rewrite the equation so we can use DOPS. And finally, we factorise fully using DOPS. So it's using this DOPS here from an earlier video. Okay, let's put our example down. I'm going to use this one that I wrote up here. Y equals x squared minus 8x minus 3. Okay, I'm going to number each one of the steps so you can see what we're doing at each step. Step number 1, magic number, is you take the coefficient of x, the number in front of x here, halve it, and then square it. negative 4 squared, which equals 16. So our magic number is 16. Step number 2 is to add then subtract the magic number after the x term. I'll show you why we can do this. If we've got y equals x squared minus 8x minus 3, what we're going to do is add in here plus 0, x squared minus 8x put the plus 0 in. Just trying to get my colours right. Minus 3. Hopefully you'll agree that by adding plus 0 in the middle shouldn't change the way that it works. Next step is going to be x squared minus 8x. Instead of the plus 0, I'm going to add and subtract 16. Make sure you add first. Plus 16, minus 16, and the minus 3 stays on the end. Hopefully you can see if we plus 16 then minus 16 we end up with 0 anyway. So this is just the same as adding 0 in the middle. But you'll see in the next step where this becomes really useful for us. Step 3 says factorise the first half. And I've put some brackets around here. You might like to add brackets yourself to help you see the part that you're factorising. And because we've used a magic number, it should work out pretty easily. So here I've got x minus 4 all squared. 4 times 4 is 16. And negative 4 minus 4 makes negative 8. So that's this red bit. And then we've got minus 16 take away 3. Which is minus 19. Fourth step is to rewrite using, so we can use dops. We've got something squared minus something. If we had something squared minus something squared, we could use dops. So let's rewrite this like this. It's a very large square root sign. I'm not sure why I made it that large. Okay, so we've got square root of 19 and then squared again. So the square root and the squared cancel each other out. So this is the same as 19. But we now have something squared minus something squared. So we can go on to step 5, which is to use dops to fully factorise. Using dops, something squared minus something squared is the first thing minus the second thing in the first brackets. And then the second brackets is the first thing plus the second thing. And now your equation is fully factorised. If you had a problem and you needed to go on and solve this question, I'll just draw a line because that's the end of factorising. But if you need to solve, you need to use the null factor law, which says that if we've got, first of all, we would make it equal to 0. X minus 4 plus root 19. And we would say, the null factor law says if we've got something minus something multiplied by something else equaling 0, either the first thing equals 0 or the second thing equals 0. So we need to write either x minus 4 minus root 19 equals 0, or x minus 4 plus root 19 equals 0. And we can add root 19 to both sides. X minus 4 equals root 19. And we can add 4 to both sides. Same on this side. Subtract root 19 from both sides. X minus 4 equals negative root 19. And then we add 4 to both sides. X equals negative root 19 plus 4. And these will be your two solutions if you're asked to solve, because we've got it in x equals form. Thanks for watching the video.